My next guest is the former president of Microsoft and one of America's most successful tech inventors, Robbie Bach. He's here to talk about his new novel, The Wilkes Insurrection, a contemporary thriller. Welcome to Bay Area Focus. Glad to have you.
Nice to be here, Len. Thanks for having me on.
And cannot wait to delve into your debut novel, but first we have to dig into your rich tech history. Wow, what a career. How would you describe that life at Microsoft, where you spent more than 2 decades?
Well, it was exciting the whole time. And, it went in peaks and valleys. There was a period where I was working on Microsoft Office, which was awesome. And then we went and started Xbox. And that was, to use the video game expression, a thrill ride. It was up and down and backwards and forwards. But I worked with a great team, and it was tremendously fun.
Sounds like the news business as well. Any favorite stories from your time there at Microsoft?
Well, I think the sort of the prototypical stories, the first time we go to launch Xbox, we're announcing it at a trade show called the E3 down in Los Angeles. I'm up on stage and I press the button and nothing happens. And so there's this embarrassing long pause, and then I just continued on with my presentation. So that's how it got started. And thankfully it continued better after that.
Well, after that start, it went full speed ahead. And this year, Microsoft is celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Xbox. Can't believe it's been that long already. How would you say the Xbox kind of changed the gaming industry?
Well, here's a simple way to put it. It's been 20 years. When we started working on Xbox, we were discussing whether to put a 56K modem in the box. Broadband did not exist. Social media did not exist. The iPhone had not been launched. I mean, you think about all the things that have happened since then and how much things have changed. And Xbox was right at the beginning of this. Probably Microsoft's first cloud service, certainly Microsoft's first social network. It's pretty exciting to look back and see what that team has accomplished.
Yeah, it's a whole new world now. And you left the company about 11 years ago, and you stayed pretty busy, even writing a new novel that we've been talking about. Give us the plot of what you're calling this contemporary thriller.
Well, it's basically an action, dark web, political intrigue story. The general idea is there's an anarchist who decides that he's going to attack the country in a variety of different ways to try to bring down the government and try to create an anarchic world. And my primary character is a woman named Major Tanika Smith. She serves in the Air Force. She and a group of other people have to come together to figure out how to catch this person and how to stop him from tearing apart a country, which, this is set in today's world, has its own set of divisions already.
And it's a book full of villains, also plot twists, but music, it seems, also played a role in your writing. How so?
Well, it did. First of all, I listen to music while I write, and music inspired me as I was creating the characters. And, this story started from the characters and then went to the plot. And so music inspired me. So the book has a playlist on Spotify. So do each of the main characters. And you can listen and feel the emotion of those characters and what goes on in the book as you listen to those playlists.
And you actually wrote a big chunk of the Wilkes Insurrection between 2016 and 2018. But what was your reaction when you saw some of your fictional elements kind of playing out in real life?
It is a very surreal thing. I mean, I wrote about an attack in Washington, D.C. I wrote about somebody being sexually assaulted. I wrote about a number of other things that have now somehow come to fruition. And it is both surreal and sad, but also, creates an environment where we can look at those things and face them. And this idea that fiction and life interact, I think, is very, very real. And ultimately, the book ends up being very optimistic. So that's a good thing as well. It's nice to finish on a positive note.
Yeah, we need optimism these days for sure. What would you say inspired you to make that jump from a CEO to a novelist?
Well, I think, part of my role post-Microsoft is to try and inspire people to be engaged in their community, to be what I call civic engineers. And so I started doing that with a nonfiction book called Xbox Revisited, which was really fun. And what I discovered is I love to write. And so then I said, well, I got to challenge myself. And I decided I'm not going to write another nonfiction book. I want to try fiction. And that got me writing these characters, and the characters led to a plot. And pretty soon I realized I was writing a thriller. And it was super exciting and super fun. And very gratifying to get to the end and have people giving it good, positive reviews.
What's your take on the tech world as it stands right now in 2021?
Well, I think it's, we're sort of at one of those pivot points where technology by itself is neutral. It's not good or bad, it's just technology. And what we're finding, and we go through these cycles every 5 or 10 years, is that there's a set of technologies that have good parts and bad parts. And what we're wrestling with as a country, as communities, as civic leaders, and as corporate leaders is how do we make sure that we get the best from the technology, and how do we prevent the technology from being used to cause harm? And we're wrestling with that real time right now in so many different ways.
What do you think the future holds? I mean, as you mentioned, so many discussions, so many concerns right now when it comes to adults down to children when it comes to social media and tech.
Well, I think the critical skill we need in the future is to empower people to actually deal with change. Change is happening faster and faster, and as the quote goes, it'll never happen this slowly again in the future. And we need to equip people to be able to deal with change and to be responsible about how they use technology, and to think of that as sort of a civic obligation. In our past civic lives, we had all these civic obligations of things that were just the right thing to do. We need to do the same thing now with technology.
Wow, such a great way to look at it. Civic obligation. Wow.
Yeah.
A great take. Robbie, thank you so much. Great success with the new book. We appreciate it. Again, the book is The Wilkes Insurrection, a contemporary thriller available on Amazon and at independent bookstores nationwide.